We are officially recording.
Is this where it goes da 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 da?
Yep. You want to sing it?
Meow 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 meow.
Meow, 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 meow. You know how I wanted to start it?
How?
Wah, 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 wah.
What is it? What is it?
Now that was invented this was invented a long time before the WAP or the wah, wah, wah,
Many,
wah.
many moons ago.
Yeah. This is
Freedom High School days.
This is my sister, you guys. I'm so
Hello.
excited. Because Megan Elizabeth Darragh, born April 13th, 1988, you were a guest on Adult Shit, the BuzzFeed podcast I had.
Oh, I remember that.
But it was very brief.
I remember it was very brief.
And we didn't really go that deep, did we?
And I was not very sober either.
Neither was I.
I think I was like 10 in the morning.
I just remember sweating because we were drinking whiskey, like hot toddies.
Yeah.
And I remember just sweating and being like, it's too early.
I don't even remember what it was on.
I think we purposefully kept it very light and airy, like because we also had Kate and her sister on. So it was
that's right. It was the sister one.
Yeah, so we were able to spread the information. It wasn't too like deep. It was very like surfacey. But this episode I'm really excited about, Wawa, because I feel like we are both in the best place we've both ever been.
Killing it.
And I feel like our relationship as sisters are the best it's ever been.
I will agree 100% on that. We are slaying life.
Yeah, and you are 2 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And where do I want to start this? Because I feel like you've been my number one fan forever.
That is very true.
You listen to every podcast.
Yes, I do. Now.
Yeah.
I wasn't before because I feel like I listen to you every day and sometimes you weren't very funny and everybody thought you were so funny.
Oh my God, bitch.
I'm like, she's funny sometimes. But no, I think you have grown a lot in your career. And I think like some of the BuzzFeed videos, I was like, she is so over-exaggerating.
Yeah.
I felt like you're over-exaggerating. But that's because I just know you so well. But I think that since you've gotten older, you have stuck to your core self and kind of learned to be more true to yourself or maybe
found my voice.
More like okay with it instead of having to do something else. Like I think those were your BuzzFeed days that I was like kind of annoyed because everybody was like, I saw your sister on my Facebook feed. And I mean, it still happens to this day on her ads. So.
But it's a different.
Yes.
Now 100%. My
100%.
voice is like, I think you're right. I found my vision and my purpose in life. And before, it's funny to me that you say it's annoying that so many people would always say, I see your sister, because that is fucking weird. Like, you would tell me all the time growing up that, like, you know, you never were like, you're going to be a star or anything, but you always supported everything I did.
Yes.
And I remember when things started to pop off, you were like, this is so weird. Like, this is crazy that people come up to you on the streets or like know who you are.
Yeah.
And it was almost like both of us having to realize that people knowing me was like a very weird thing.
It was. And people will say, you know, I can't believe your sister made it and da-da-da-da. And like, well, no, I mean, they're just because it's so rare, I think. But I have to say there was a point that I still feel guilty about. But I remember where you were struggling and it was like you were in a horrible place and you weren't at BuzzFeed yet.
This was I know exactly what you're talking about.
You were just struggling. And I remember supporting you and your dream all the way up until that moment because I saw how fucking depressed you were. And I was like, this has got to stop. That was like just my instinct to be like, you need to stop doing this. And it's unhealthy for you. And I'm like, is she ever going to really make it? And I'm like, the odds are like, probably not.
No,
and I remember having a conversation with you one day and being like, so why don't you think about just getting a real job?
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I think about that moment today and literally right after that, you got your job at BuzzFeed. And I was like, God damn it. I was
Dude,
like the
you
one.
know?
I was trying to be realistic. I feel
Yeah.
like I felt like I was trying to be realistic.
Well, you were protecting me because I was in the worst place
Right.
I've ever been in my life. And it's so funny you bring that up. I never in a million years would have guessed that you brought this up because I write about that in the book.
Really?
I was going to wait and kind of like surprise you with it. Oh my God. We're like diving really deep, like very quickly. But like, okay, I'm going to try not to cry.
Oh.
This was the chapter where I talked about almost killing myself.
Oh yeah, I remember that day.
And I was coming off of coke. I was getting broken up with. I had just lost a really big role in a thing. Well, I didn't lose it. It just didn't go to series. So I write about this in the book, but it's like kind of the big chapter of like the night that I tried to. And then the next morning getting a text from you. And I saved the text.
Really?
And I put it in the book.
No way.
Yeah. I saved the text and I screenshotted it and I've like had it forever and I've just like had it in a file and I went back and I found it and I was like,
I wonder what I said.
I kind of want to wait.
Okay,
And like,
we can wait.
But just know that it was like a big moment in my life where I had that support that I was like, I've never felt like you didn't support me. I think we were both on the same idea of like, oh shit, she might need to get a job because she needs like
and then I was like, how old?
accountability.
I was like, how old do people get hired to like in your field? I'm like, because you're getting older, and I'm
my
like, don't they
God.
want like
young fried
people?
chickies. Dude,
I don't know.
but you
I
know
don't
what
know
you
anything.
said was you need like a place to go where there's accountability because I was just such a free roamer and that's why BuzzFeed was
I remember that
perfect place because I could be wild and crazy but I was being held accountable and I never had accountability in my life.
Yeah.
And you saw that early. You were like, you need routine, you need structure. You can't just be willy-nilly. And I don't now. Like,
and it gives you a sense of purpose to get up because you're needed somewhere.
Literally, you say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's what I need for me. Because if I do not have a routine, it's like, what is the saying? Like, idle hands is the devil's hands.
Is on the devil dick or something.
Something like that. I can't not be doing something. And I think for your soul, you just have to feel needed. And I don't know if that's like a human
of course it is.
thing that's in your DNA. But like,
Connection.
and that's why you can't feel, I think that's why people can't be isolated for too long. And I mean, for this person, for me, I cannot not have a planned out week or a planned out day. I mean, it's hard for me to sit and enjoy a Netflix and chill day because I feel like I'm wasting away my day.
Girl.
You know?
That is so fucking relatable. And side note, confidant, I've seen your comments about working on not interrupting or like saying too loudly because I'm just like having a conversation and I think I hear your comments.
Kelsey's always like,
And people are like, you've been interrupting so many people lately. And I'm like, we have 45 minutes. I'm trying to get the most out of it, but I hear you guys. I'm going to work on it. But like, let's talk about that for a second because I think we are more similar now if you ask anyone of our lives, people would tell you we are like polar opposites.
Yeah.
Like you're short, brown hair, very sweet. Everyone loves Megan. Everyone will tell you how sweet Megan is. And everyone tells about Kelsey's all wild and cunty and crazy and loud and mean.
But it's so funny because I think like if you would sit with my group of friends now, I'm the crazy, loud, wild one out of my group. And so, but then when I come next to you, I can't even compare to your wild loudness.
I could never imagine you being the center of attention. You'd never have to me, you never liked it. You didn't like attention.
It's not like a center of attention thing, but I think it's maybe it's just because when I was drunk, I would be just loud as fuck and just be like, I'm buying a shot for everybody.
Yep. We are queens of buying shots for the bar.
Shots. Oh, yeah. The breakfast shots.
Oh,
we don't talk about that day.
Oh, my God. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways.
So, like, diving into kind of more about you, because I think the confidants are actually going to get a fuckload out of this episode, because I think that this episode is a lot more fucking relatable about a thing that like we can talk about with our relationship that a lot of people have dealt with, which is not something I've ever really talked about publicly. I put everything about my life out there.
Yeah.
But I protect you so hard. Dog. Like, I never have mentioned anything
No,
about
I know. You do talk about me, but you don't say my name.
I never go past. And sometimes I will say, oh, in my life I have dealt with. And it's like, if you go back, you will see that, like,
that's a hint.
Yeah, I have never put your motherfucking business out there ever, ever, ever. And I feel like this is kind of a crazy episode in that, like, you feel confident in talking about your life.
100%.
You just celebrated your 1 year sober the other day. Let's talk about it. We have like addiction in our family, dog.
100%.
We have it in our genes.
Both sides.
And us growing up, I mean, I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's like we grew up in public schools of Florida, which are different.
Yeah.
We didn't realize how fucked up our shit was until we talked to other high school kids and we're like, oh, wait, you're not snorting blues off of like the toilet seat in the bathroom during birth period?
Yeah, the somas.
Oh my God. But we went to the same high school. You were the queen bee of hotness. There was like two girls, you and Jackie Peak. Were like,
Jackie Peak was so pretty.
You and her
she
were
still
known.
is.
Yeah, she's so gorgeous. You two were known as like the untouchables.
Oh,
And you always had a boyfriend.
Always had a boyfriend.
And you were just like the hottest girl of all time. And I was always known as Megan's little sister.
But she was the wild one.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you call wild.
Yeah. You were wild.
I was?
Yeah, you were wild.
I don't know that I was
Maybe
wild.
not in high school, but I mean, when I have the cop, you saying the cops are going to come in and I got to go pick you up off Boothby Downs or some shit like that. And yeah.
I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But like, I definitely put myself in precarious situations. But I never went beyond. I was a big weed smoker.
Yeah, big weed smoker.
Huge drinker.
Yes.
Everyone knows that.
Yes.
Big time drinker. And
that was like your identity for a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
It's just now shedding. And then I did like my Xanax.
Me too.
I did like Xanax every now and then here and there. When I was fucking 16 and 17. What 16 and 17-year-olds are doing bars?
I don't know. That's like, I feel like the Gen Zers these days are like,
No. No.
They don't even smoke cigarettes.
Cigarettes are disgusting, and anyone that still smokes them, get out of my life. Yeah. But you know what I do? You know what I do now is when I see like someone our age smoking a cigarette, I go, "Do people still smoke cigarettes?"
I noticed that.
And it fucking messes with their head.
Yeah.
I say it like it's an ancient relic. I'm like,
I think you said that to me for a long time.
Or I said it to our cousin the other week.
Yeah.
When we were in Texas. Oh, by the way, Megan and I have been socially distanced, quarantine to the max.
Yes.
Getting tested. I have to get tested for work like every fucking week. And you were tested in quarantine. We purposefully, Jared and I have been in the woods so that we could hang out.
Yeah.
We purposely have isolated and done this the safe way so that we could have this episode. By the way, I don't think I said that, confidantes. But so I said that to my cousin of being like, oh, dude, I didn't know. Do people seriously smoke cigarettes? It's a way of giving them a dig without making them feel bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to high school.
Yep.
So you were bad.
Yes, I was. I wasn't bad until I was 18. 18 is when I tried everything.
And you can hear our southern twang a little bit. When Megan and I start talking to each other, we start going back to our old way of speaking in high school, which is like very like southern vernacular. But you tried everything.
I tried everything when I was 18. And then I think what stuck was the lifestyle and
raver girl.
Rave, yes. I was very, very much into raves and going to warehouse raves and going to the Amp in Ybor before it burned down. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
A disco ball set it on fire.
I cannot believe that.
So the place is gone.
You were like very much into go-go dancing.
Oh yeah, I was go-go dancing.
All the what are they called? The light sticks.
Oh yeah, I was doing poi.
Oh my god,
throwing fire.
You can literally like a circus throw fire around on a string.
Yes,
it's wild.
Yes, I gave my fire poi away a long time ago.
What do you think was it about the lifestyle that you loved?
I've thought about this a lot.
Me too.
And I think it comes down to where the raves nobody has any sort of judgment whatsoever. Like, you saw the outfits I would wear.
Yeah.
Rainbow, like, hair extensions with, like, the UFO pants and, like...
big boots and a hat.
The platform shoes and all sorts of shit. Nobody gave a shit. And I think, like, I loved that lifestyle because it was like a wonderland. Like, it was just like nobody gave a shit. There were no rules. There was no judgment. Everybody, and then, you know, people were taking ecstasy and shit, like, at the time when, like, in my early days, and everybody was all about peace, love, and blah, blah, blah. And it reminded me, like, of the Woodstock shit. You know what I mean? And I'm like, how is everybody not going to a fucking rave on a Saturday night? I'm like, everybody needs to do this. Everybody. And so, like, I got addicted to the lifestyle and to the idea that I could do this all the time. And, like, why wouldn't you? And that's something I've always talked to my therapist about. And she brings it up all the fucking time. When I first started seeing her, I remember she said that I said, why be sad when you can be happy all the time?
Oh, that sounds exhausting and untrue.
Exactly. But I was, like, dedicated to that. I was like, I'm going to go to raves every weekend. And I'm going to take drugs and I'm going to trip and I'm going to live in this fantasy land, which I didn't know at the time was a fantasy land.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Just literally thought this was normal for these type of people. And I was like, I am these type of people, and that you can accept that or not, but I'm going to keep doing this. And, you know, my therapist recommended doing total abstinence from everything, from drinking, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to figure out a way to live my life to where I can party all weekend and then have my 9 to 5 during the week, and then I worked my ass off, so I deserve to get super fucking fucked up for days on end and not sleep and all that kind of shit. I thought, like, that was my treat. I was like, this is what I deserve. This is my reward for working hard. So I'm going to go hard because I work hard.
It was so weird because I left home early. So I departed right as you were kind of going into that culture. And I moved all over the country. So really, it was like me watching from afar and kind of hearing stories from friends and, like, seeing the people we're hanging out with. And when I come home for holidays, I'd be like, these people are fucking weird that you're hanging out with. They were like, we were like early 20s, and you'd be hanging out with like 45-year-olds that are wearing fucking pluribus. And listen, I'm not here to judge.
No.
Here's what was weird for me that I had to get used to. I saw you as this queen bee, literally like Regina motherfucking George, but without all the meanness, just the hotness. Maybe more like Gretchen Wieners. You were like the piece, like the eye candy. And to watch you slowly, like, the way that in my head I see it is like get dirty. And I was like, what is she doing? But then you would show up to work 9 a.m. on a Monday in your fucking suit dress bullshit. And then it was like, I couldn't understand how you were able to balance that lifestyle.
Right. I'm what they call a functioning addict, alcoholic, or whatever. It's functioning, and it's very, very functioning. I mean, I wasn't secretive about my lifestyle, but I was very secretive of what I was doing in my lifestyle.
Yeah. Because like I said, I would, you know, I wouldn't consider us the closest during that time.
No, not
at all. Which was like super sad because I think both of us had a view of what the other person thought, right? Like, I mean, maybe you can tell me, is you thought that I was going to like judge you and you didn't want to stop, and that I was going to try and stop you from doing things. So you didn't really like share that stuff.
Exactly. That was my biggest thing with everything is that I didn't want anybody to know because I didn't want them to try and make me stop.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you because I know it's not good.
Yeah. Like, you were very aware. Yeah. And then I'm here like in my head, and it's almost like that was the thing that I was sad about. Yeah. I was sad that you weren't sharing your life with me because I was never going to judge you. I was never going to make you feel bad. I would say things to you, but it was like me trying to get close. You know, like if I'm a fellow sir, maybe I can like understand and help you. But it really, I think you nail it, is like, it all came down to like you just did not want to stop using and drinking.
No,
and
it was the funnest shit. And I'll say to this day, it was the funnest shit ever. I mean, like, I do not regret that at all.
Wow.
Not at all.
None
I mean,
of your brain cells?
no, I would do it all over again.
You lost time?
But no. Oh my God. It was so much fun. And
I think I blacked out more than you.
Yeah.
Do you remember shit? Because like,
Yeah.
I never, that's kind of why I had to quit. I was like, I don't remember anything.
Right. No, what brought me down, it was not like the coming down off things or like the depression from drugs and alcohol or from partying. It got to the point where I was literally going to the club by myself just to like hear a specific DJ that came in from Europe that I'm like, I'm never going to be able to see this DJ again. I have to go see them. I was so obsessed with that lifestyle, and I love to dance. I just love to dance.
You J-Lo. You like
yeah,
J-Lo.
I love to dance, and so I was going to the club by myself and meeting up with people that I had only met once before, and like sketchy situations. And I mean, at the end, it just was getting so exhausting, and I'm older now, and so my body was not recovering by Monday.
Nope.
At all, and I was not eating healthy or working out at all, and so it was just becoming so exhausting and lonely.
Ooh.
Even though I was around a bunch of people, and like I would ask my crew like, hey, I'm going out, anybody want to go with? And nobody likes the kind of techno that I like.
No, you like some crazy shit.
I like that German, like hardcore, lots of BPMs, but I just started to get like super lonely and it was just exhausting and tiring and a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
oh God,
I had settled in my job to where like I wasn't going anywhere with my job because it was like I settled there so I could support this lifestyle.
Exactly. You work for the family business.
Right.
You're kind of like in mom's legacy. Our mom's a very successful, self-made, self-founded business owner.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Mama D. She's been on the podcast a bunch. And that's kind of also what was crazy because I would like check in with mom and mom would be like, you know what was funny is mom never like denied.
Yeah.
She was never like, no, she's fine. No, she's not, Kelsey. You're crazy. You're dreaming up shit. She would be like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
She's over 18. She shows up for work on Monday. And I think that was mom's way of keeping you close. Because if she was the woman to be like, that's it, we're cutting you off as a family, like, you would have not reacted well to that.
Right.
I think it would have tore the family apart.
Exactly.
And I think mom's radical acceptance, and maybe blissful ignorance in some
I think they were just very blind, like mom and dad.
But dad has an addictive history. He's talked about his sobriety on his episode. I'm a You
good
sneaky
bitch.
dude.
I swear to God,
You
I
are
am
a good liar.
I am, and it sucks that I am, man.
You are and you aren't because like when I would come home for Thanksgiving and Christmas and you would leave at like 9 p.m. I'm like, I know she's not going home. Yeah. Like she's lying and like, but the thing is like, and I've told you this the other day that this has been like the hardest thing because you've been in the program and you've done rehab and things like what? How many times?
I've only done rehab once.
But how many times have you tried getting sober or whatever?
This is my second time.
Liar.
It is. The first time was in treatment at Turning Point, which is the best treatment center ever. If anybody needs any recommendations, that place saved my life in 2010. And then, so I was sober for a couple of years. And then when Joe and I broke up, that's when I fell off again and didn't try again until a year ago.
So maybe I'm thinking that you like would stop doing certain things, but to go completely sober, you've only tried twice.
Correct.
Which is crazy because in my head, if you would have asked me, I probably would have said 12 times.
No, only twice.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, for you. I don't know.
You
for
told me or something that.
Oh, I probably told you I was sober a million times.
Yeah, that's what I think, and like that kind of goes back around to what I was going to tell you was that like that's what fucks with me, is because now we are in the best position, both of us. I feel like our relationship's the strongest it's ever been. And there's still this like biting in the back of my brain that's like, she's a good fucking liar.
Yeah.
Like, how will I ever know? And I feel like I've told you this a million fucking times that I will never judge you. I will please don't ever lie to me. Please. Like, please, please, please. I will never, ever, ever in the future, in the past, never, ever care. I will never try to stop you. I will never try to whatever. But like, that's, I think, something I'm having a hard time getting over is like that. I don't want to feel this way. Yeah. But I think it's instinct because of what we've been through.
Sure.
And I wish I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
tough.
It is tough, and it's unfortunate, but that is a result of me doing what I did and the way that I did it, and you know, cutting you off, you know what I mean? In a certain way. And the only thing that can fix that is time, in my opinion. And I mean, you have every right to feel that way. And I don't know. I mean,
I feel tears coming, but I'm not sad.
Don't cry.
I'm not sad.
God.
I feel tears coming, so I'm not going to try and stop them because then my throat gets all fucked up. But like, I know that that's like a thing that they tell you in AA, right? Like, sometimes I feel like you're just repeating the thing of like, you're allowed to be mad at me. Like,
but I mean, what else am I supposed to say? I mean, I all I can do is just continue doing what I do and tell you everything and keep you informed. And like the way, and when I did lie and stuff like that, in my mind, I was protecting you. Right. I was protecting mom and dad. And I think that you have to accept that that was my thinking and my fucked up brain. Like, I'm protecting them by them not knowing how low my life is right now. That is how I thought. And I was like, I'm protecting them. I don't want them to know. I don't want to stress them out. I don't want them to worry about me ever. So I'm going to keep this all under wraps. And I'm not going to tell them. And like I said, in my mind, it was protecting you, and it wasn't to shut you out, and it wasn't to do something negative. In my mind, my fucked up mind, I spun it to be a positive thing.
Well, because you didn't want to stop.
Right, exactly. Right. So like, I was like, oh, this is a positive thing. Yeah. You know, I'm doing the right thing.
Like, I think that's an interesting part of, like, and we've kind of talked about this with mental health with addiction, because there's so much, you know, back and forth about like, is addiction a disease, or like,
oh my God, I've had that conversation so many times.
I'm so curious.
I actually was chairing a meeting once, and I was like,
what does that mean?
When at an AA meeting,
my watch is talking. Sorry. Go ahead.
At AA meetings, you have a chairperson who runs the meeting. They sit like at the front, and they open them and they read a thing. And
you chair meetings?
Yeah,
I would want to go to one of yours. That sounds fun.
Well, one of them, I was like, it's a disease. And I like read the definition of disease and like all this stuff. I'm like, is it really, you guys? Or are we just telling people that it's that so that they don't feel as bad?
Yeah. What did they say? You can't do that. What?
I know. I was like trying to make it like, I was trying to like make it different. Because all the time they're like, oh, let's read from page blah, blah, blah. And it's like so boring. But like, I don't know. Sometimes it's just super boring, and I wanted to like spice it up a little bit and be like, I'd be like, come on, you guys. Like, is it? Do you really think it's a disease? Tell me what you think.
Let me throw it to a break real quick. Oh, dear sweet confidants. Do you finally feel like you can take just a little bit deeper of a breath now that we have gotten through this election season? Or do you feel like maybe not at all, because now we're coming up with the holidays? Well, listen, if you're feeling stressed or anxious, you know what I'm here to tell you about forever and always. BetterHelp, baby. BetterHelp is a therapy app that matches you with counselors. It's affordable. And, you know, traditional counseling wasn't really for me. I didn't realize online counseling was exactly what I needed to feel comfortable. And the best part is financial aid is available. I know therapy is a privilege. We acknowledge that. But hey, maybe you could get this as a gift for someone this holiday season. Wouldn't that be great?
It's a private and safe online environment, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. So many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. I want you to start living your happier life today. And as a listener, you're going to get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/CI for confidently insecure. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/CI.
And we're back. And that was for the ad placement.
Yeah.
What did they say?
A lot of people did, and I think like I'm trying to remember of what this guy Bill said. Fuck, I don't know what he said. Yeah, I mean, there's so many Bills.
There's a lot of Bills. We're fine. Yeah.
Or we can just say his name was Bill.
Yeah.
But I mean,
What did he say?
he said you can't use that as long as he's like you can call it whatever you want. I think this is what most of people said. You can call it whatever you want, as long as you don't say calling it a disease is your excuse.
Ooh, yeah.
Don't. He's like, you can call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. He's like, but you can't just say it's a disease for your excuse and use that as an excuse for your bad actions, for your wrong actions. And I'm like, that's true. That's true. And they're like, call it whatever you want. If you don't want to call it a disease, don't call it a fucking disease. And it's all personal preference. And I'm like, okay.
But the word only gets brought up when it's being used as an excuse.
Right.
Like when I talk to my therapist believes it's a disease, and she worked at an IOP center, and she
My
works,
therapist does too.
Oh, does she? Shout out to IOPs. That's intensive outpatient, or no, IOP's inpatient.
Intensive outpatient is
Oh,
IOP.
what's it when you go inpatient? Oh, it's called inpatient.
It's inpatient. Yeah.
So she she will say, oh, it's that person's disease. Like I know there's tons of studies about like addiction chemicals in brains. Like, yes, I totally completely understand that. But I also know people can change their brains and their behavior. And the more we're learning about neuroplasticity and biofeedback training, and like that's what my whole book is about, is learning to change your fucking brain.
Right.
I haven't had a full-blown panic attack in months. Like I've learned that I am in control of my life. You know, even though everything happens to me, nobody can make me feel anything.
Right.
They can try.
Right.
They can really try, but only I can be the master of my feelings and actions and reactions.
That is just so hard to like actually take in and realize that. And it's because people like to use excuses, you know, like, I mean, for me, when I first got sober again, I was going through this thing with this guy, and like, I fucking blamed him for making me the way that I felt. I was like, it's his fucking fault that I feel this way and that I got to this point, and he was the one that set me over the edge, and da-da-da-da-da. And it still, for me to think like that I could have controlled those emotions and like stuff like that, it feels impossible.
Yeah.
So for you to be able to say that is a very, very, it's a huge strength of yours, because for me, I'm still learning to do all of that and how to cope.
Well,
because
I think that also speaks a lot to personality traits and like kind of the way we were raised a little bit. Like, I think you're a huge empath. I think you feel for people.
Oh, yeah.
I like, even just around the office, everyone will tell you Megan is like the angel, the sweetest. She would do anything for you. And I don't mean this in a mean way, but I think like it's the same way that I have friends that are like pushovers, and I see it happening, and I'm like, fucking stop. Like, stop giving your energy away to this shitty person or whatever. And I don't know how I've gotten there in a different way than you will have gotten there or to get there. Like,
I think it'll definitely take longer. Just, I mean, like you said, it's just a personality thing. I think like you have that strong, like independent, like da 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 da. And I was very codependent, and I can tell you what, like even when I was single the past couple of years, like I always like had a guy on the back burner, like ready to like call in any minute and be like,
talk about that.
Hey, come on over. But like in that way, I was still codependent. You know what I mean? And like I still like I was still codependent, even though I thought like I was single.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
you still always had that.
Yeah, I
kind of
still
safety
had that
net.
like, yeah. And I still relied on other people, and I wasn't as independent as I really thought. And then this last year of my sobriety and being on my own and I was abstinent for a year.
What?
I was abstinent for a year.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was.
Wow.
Yes, not a kiss, not anything, which is the
Wait,
first time in
I
my
did
whole life.
Not fucking know
You
this.
didn't?
You didn't tell me
That's what they
part.
recommend in the program. They're like, you should be abstinent for a year.
I've
And I
been to
first I was like,
AA.
what about 6 months? And they were like,
Can we make
what
a deal?
happened to year? And I was like, okay, fine, for a year. And I was like, but that was what I used to cope. Like I
Wait,
used
wow.
sex, I used alcohol, I used drugs. I was like, I need to not feel this way, so let me go fuck somebody. And I'm like, can I at least, I was telling my therapist, I'm like, can I just be like a one and done, like somebody I can meet on Bumble? I just want to like feel that instead of what I'm feeling right now, because I feel like shit about myself, kind of deal.
Wow. I
Yeah.
had no clue
Yeah.
that this was part. I've been to a million AA meetings. I've never fucking heard that.
I don't know. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad I
Yeah.
did it because I learned a lot about
Well,
myself.
okay,
And now I
'cause
feel like I'm uber
that's
single.
a big part of it, because like obviously in the last year I've seen you the best I've ever seen you. Obviously, like you are in CrossFit, you have a fucking house, like you are a mom to 2 kitty cats, you're involved in the family business, like you're making a huge career change right now. Like I really see you independent for the first fucking time, and it scares the shit out of me.
Why?
Because, dude, it's that same like fucking little scratch in the back of my
Yeah.
head where I'm like, but what if she does this? Or like,
Oh, yeah.
she has so much
Yeah.
independence now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's really true independence,
Right.
And now that you say the abstinence thing, it's blowing my fucking mind, because I was gonna bring up the fact that like the way I saw it from afar was like, whoever you were dating, you are a serial monogamist.
I know.
/ codependent.
Very much.
We could talk about that. Every guy you dated was like what thing you were into.
Yeah.
And it was like, if we could just get rid of the guy, she would be great. And then it was like, you date this fucking next one and be like, oh no, like
Here we
he's
go
even
again.
worse. And of course there were a few that I loved, obviously. Shout out Joe. Like,
Joe.
I think it was tough to watch that, because I was like, if we could just get rid of this fucking thing, she can be.
Yeah.
And I feel like now for the first time, and I didn't know you're abstinent. And now it makes
Yeah.
so much sense that you're so great, because you're not codependent on some fucking guy.
Yeah. I know. Me too. I know that I could thank Lena, my therapist, for making me stay that way.
Yeah, I know. Me too. That is crazy.
Yeah, it was hard.
What is it about? Do you talk about that? Like, what is it about relationships? Because we had a dad, we had a mom,
Yeah.
we had a loving relationship to watch. What the fuck happened to you?
I don't know. I just like I don't know like if it was I don't know what to blame, honestly. Like
You were
I wanna,
always that way.
I want to blame like, you know, so the shit relationships I was in, or like honestly like I think it was just because I was so fucked up all the time, and like I don't know. I honestly have no idea why I felt like, you know what? I think it might be because when I was like in elementary school, I was like picked on and bullied, and I was not.
Why?
I was like the ugly duckling of the group.
God.
I swear to God, I was.
Megan,
I was.
This is
My
news.
bangs were cut
Okay.
up to almost my forehead.
That was Dad's
my
fault.
I have glasses that are like what's his name from Trailer Park Boys.
You keep saying bubbles, and I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll show you after
Okay.
this. And like I had a big gap in between my 2 front teeth, and I had braces. I mean, I was a mess. And so I felt so. I remember coming home to mom and crying and saying, "I don't have any friends," and like she would hold me and sing "Baby Mine," and like because I
Can't say
was just
that.
like,
I'll cry.
I was so like I felt not cool. I did not feel cool, and I was like a loser. And then as soon as like
You got hot.
as soon as I started to get popular, like in 8th grade, I was
Big
like,
time.
oh, I can have a boyfriend. Like guys like me, and so I think I would snatch up whatever I could, and stayed with it because I didn't want to lose it. You know what I mean? And like I never got that time of independence by myself to find out who I really was without somebody.
Yeah,
So
you got hot too soon.
I literally would overlap my relationships.
Ooh.
So I never wanted to be single. Like, it was just like, as soon as I got bored with the other person and didn't have the balls to break up with him, I'd just cheat on him.
Listen.
And then be with that person. It's so fucked up.
We were all sitting in the RV the other day, me, Megan, and Jared, and I look around and I go, huh, everyone in this trailer has cheated before.
Yeah.
All right. We need to normalize this a little bit
Yeah.
because like it's beyond, the story is beyond, I think, just like, oh, I don't like you anymore, I want to cheat on you, because we've talked about you being stuck in relationships where like you literally, you know, didn't have like the strength or whatever to leave, and like you didn't have the wherewithal or the resources to leave, and like I think that that's very common. I've told my story about being in an abusive relationship where I had to cheat in order to leave, and yeah, I think that conversation could be like more dived into another time.
Yeah.
But what I can say from my point of view was it was so hard to watch you date the guys that you fucking dated.
Sometimes
dude.
it was hard for me to fucking accept it too. After a while, I'm like, man.
Because you are so stunning. And like I joke, but mom will always say like, God, Megan just doesn't even have to try. Me and you, Kelsey, we really got to put some work in. Like, whoo, we are up. And it like stuck with me. And I think I, you know, didn't have my first real boyfriend until I was fucking a junior in high school, Andrew. And I think that that's what gave me the time to develop this like goofy personality. I was the class clown. I was the girl who was really good at beer pong because I wasn't like the hot, you know, the girls I was friends with. I wasn't the Regina George or the Gretchen Wieners. I was like the fucking Janice girl who was like super into theater. Or whatever. But like, I think I did get that time to develop those skills so that when I did get in a relationship, it wasn't like everything in my identity, but you definitely, it was so hard to watch you date the guys you date, and me and mom would always say like, what does she see in these guys? I mean, like, you are stunning, Wah. By the way, our nicknames are Wah. I don't think we ever established that.
And Megwah.
That was established in high school. Even our parents call us that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Neil Beagle, who was the one who named me that. Yeah. And then it like skirted over to you too, and now that's our nicknames. But what about like you know, you said this yesterday, was that you want to save people, and I think a lot of people who listen to this are not in like big metropolis cities that can just have the picking of whoever, like an endless pick. I think a lot of people live in these towns where it's like, this is what you got.
Yeah.
You chose the scrappy bottom barrel crust.
I did. And I think like I got joy out of like, because I was like the sugar mama. Like I always had money. And I think like gifting them things and like being able for them to experience places that they would normally usually go or usually have. And it was like, I feel like it was like that
Adopting
kind
a
of
puppy.
saving. And then it also like them like telling me they'll never have something as good as me and like that made me feel super special. And for me to be able to like give them something that they wouldn't usually have, like if it was financially or like if we went on a trip or something like that,
Vacations,
like
Europe, like,
and I don't know if that's really like
it makes a lot of fucking sense.
Just of it, of the saving factor. But
it makes a lot of sense too that it put you in a position of feeling very loved and wanted.
yes,
Because that seems like the thing that started all of this, was that you didn't feel loved and wanted.
yeah.
Even though you had, you know, a great family system. And, you know, I didn't know this stuff about you, because even last night you were wearing your glasses and I said, oh my God, these glasses make your eyes look so big. And you like got really bothered. And
I was like, oh,
you got upset. You took your glasses off and you wouldn't let us see you with them. And I had no idea
it was traumatizing
that you
as a child.
had this big insecurity about your glasses, which I think are so fucking cute.
I know, they're not.
And because you have very small eyes like dad. And so I think I can see your eyes for the first time. And you've got these big eyelashes on right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. But seeing you react that way, I was like, oh shit, she's got some actual trauma behind being made fun of that put you in a position of wanting male validation, which explains a lot. And now hearing that you were kind of the savior every time with these men, it almost feels like you aren't comfortable dating your equal.
Right. And it also makes me feel less powerful, I think. Like if I've met somebody that was my equal or something like that. Like I like having control, obviously, like as most people do. But more so because I'm a control freak. And I want to be able to dictate. I was the one who ended or said that the relationships happened or ended. You know what I mean? Like eventually I was able to break up with people, but I never got broken up with. I wanted to have that control and have that power. And I don't know. I guess like now that I think about it, if I do like find somebody that's like my equal, I feel like super vulnerable and intimidated.
That's so interesting. And I was just going to say, when you said that, it like clicked in my head, because we've talked about this a lot, is that you and I share the same idea of not feeling like we deserve things. Yeah. Because we grew up very privileged compared to like, you know, a lot of people our age. And how do I say this? It's like it's a hindrance, but it was never meant to be. Like mom and dad gave us everything we ever wanted. We never struggled. We never had to get a job. We never had curfews. Like we never had rules. And I think in a way, when we both became adults, we went like, oh my God, what the fuck are we supposed to do? And then when we started to get things, it was like, I've never really struggled in my life. Therefore, I don't deserve the success that has come to me. And I've talked a lot about that with my therapist, just of like, I don't feel like I deserve these things because I somehow, it always comes back to like childhood, because even though I worked really fucking hard as an adult to get that thing, it always will stem back to like, but I think I was too spoiled as a kid. Therefore, it leaks too much into my personal life and gives me like big imposter syndrome.
I totally 100% agree with that. And then I wanted to also note that something my therapist brought up about our growing up and how mom and dad raised us was my whole idea of why be sad when you can always be happy. She brought that up, that mom and dad, and I hate when fucking psychiatrists bring up their, like, it's your mom and dad. How was your, like, mom and dad life? I'm like, this has nothing to do with them. They gave me the best life ever. This is I'm fucked up because of me, not because of anything my parents did. So you can stop talking about my fucking parents. And I get really, like, upset about it.
Yeah, because her parents are great.
Yeah. And so she said, think about when you were growing up, and every time you were sad, your mom and dad, or mom in particular, would buy you things, and you would never be sad. So, and she's like, why be sad when you can be happy all the time? And you got instant gratification when you were a kid. And if you cried over something, I mean, I told mom that I wanted to go sit next to this girl named Jackie in first grade, and then she went up to the school the next day and said, can Megan sit next to the, like,
what?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
She made shit happen. And anytime I wanted something, I got it. Like, I never had to work for shit in my life. And I'm not blaming mom and dad at all for like my way of, but I never learned to cope. Yeah. So anytime I cried, it was like, mom fixed it and made it better immediately. So now every time, when I got older and I cried and I couldn't immediately fix it, I didn't know how to deal with that. So I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to feel. So let me go get fucked up.
And we talked about this even this morning doing our CrossFit training, which, by the way, Megan, what'd you make me do? The workout of the day? The WOD?
The WOD of the day was 30 rounds for time.
30 rounds. I just want you to hear that, audience. 30 rounds.
30 rounds for time. And you did 5 up downs, 5 push-ups, 10 mountain climbers, and 10 air squats.
30 times. I just want to emphasize 30 times this morning. But we talked about this idea of feeling numb, because I was like, I was really struggling, and you're like, it's okay, well, like, you'll get to the point where you get numb
and you don't feel anything.
Yes. And then I clocked that, and then when we were done, I was like, no wonder you were so into drugs. You don't want to feel shit. We never learned those coping skills. And so it makes so much sense of why. And I wanted to point out when you were talking about the parents thing, because I was the same way. Like, when I would go into therapy, especially if I got a new therapist, I would be like, By the way, all you need to know about me is I had a perfect childhood. Like nothing is their fucking fault. So please do not try and fucking blame them. And it wasn't until I listened to this book that I just recently listened to, which I think, by the way, you would love. And she gave me a quote from the back of my book, which I'm really fucking excited about. Her name's Lori Gottlieb. And she wrote, maybe you should talk to someone. And she's a therapist who goes to therapy. And so she writes about this journey, and it's a complete behind the scenes look at how therapists work.
Ooh.
And it's so trippy. You hear like their little tricks and like the way that they think. And it's so fascinating. And she talks about the parents thing where she's like, we are not trying to blame things on your parents. It's not about that. It doesn't matter if you had a mom and a dad or a fucking wolf and a monkey for adults. It's about, we need to learn like how you were formed. It's not that we're being like, oh, your mom didn't do this thing, therefore that's why, like, bad mom. It's more like, oh, that makes sense. Now I've got the action item to come to adulthood and go like, this is why. It has nothing to do with blaming them. And that was the first time that I heard that, being like, oh, everything comes back to childhood.
Yeah.
Not necessarily everything comes back to your parent. It's like everything comes back to like the literal formation of your brain and your patterns.
See, I never saw it as that. I was always like, literally, I went to a psychiatrist for one session and she brought up the mom and dad thing. I was like, bye. And I never went to her again. I was like, this is such bullshit that they all fucking put it on mom and dad when they were absolutely perfect to us. But that makes sense now, that what you said.
And I don't want to say but because that like then negates things. And we did not have a normal childhood.
Right.
Like,
it was normal to us.
It was normal to us. But when I talk about, you know, not really having certain needs met, it would reveal a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that I had a hard time accepting that I didn't have certain needs met, because then that would sound like someone was being a bad parent.
Right.
And it's like, no. It's, they were doing this thing to provide. They were doing the right thing. It just so happened that the way society formed my brain patterns, it's going to reveal itself as bad or good, or like helpful or not helpful. So like getting rid of the idea that they were ever doing anything wrong has really helped me go like, okay, right. Yeah, I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at the pattern that formed, and like it's childhood, not mom and dad.
That's a good way to put it. And I think that Elena, my therapist, has been trying to do that for a long time, but I would not even let her go there because I would get so offended and protective.
Yeah.
Over.
Well, you should go back and tell her this.
Yeah.
Tell her how much you learned. Well, I also think it's interesting. Do you ever talk about me in therapy?
Yeah. Not as much anymore.
Yeah.
I think like I would, well, I did before we left, because I was like, she got us these Kamala and Joe shirts. And I was like, and I hope she's not going to make me wear these at Thanksgiving in front of our conservative ass family members, because I'm like, she's just stirring the pot.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's just trying to stir the pot. And I'm like, that it's just not right. I'm like, how would she like it if they wore Trump shirts to Thanksgiving and da-da-da-da? I'm like, does she even think about that? And like, I think stuff like that. And then it's not like more, obviously we didn't wear them at Thanksgiving. We wore them here in Washington.
You actually did. You did wear it one day at night.
I think at
when you came in the living room.
in private.
By the way, it was like that was the last episode where we stopped in Texas and we saw a bunch of Texans.
Yeah. But no, and I think that more in therapy, when I'm talking about you, it's like, how do I handle this situation? Like, and it's honestly mostly been because of politics. And I'm like, I'm afraid that this is going to break the family up, and and how do I handle this situation? And you know what I mean? Not like, you know, whatever. But no, it's not mostly anything about you, but it's more like for me how to handle you.
Listen, I think the most helpful thing I've had a revelatory moment was when I was listening to Chelsea Handler's book, and she's got a lot of sisters.
I love her.
I fucking love it. Did you listen to her new book?
No.
Oh my God, you got to put it on audiobook and listen to it on my way home today. She talks about like when she did her ayahuasca experience, like she tried and nothing happened, so she went and did it again by herself. And what she came out of it with, because the whole time she was tripping, it was about with her sister, and they were at Martha's Vineyard where they grew up, and da 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 da. And what she came out of with that experience was saying like, my sister and I are completely different people. Like what I want for her and like, come on, you got to do this. If you would just do this thing and I noticed that I do that with you. I'm like, you just need to move to a big city. You need to get away from this thing. Like you just need to do this. And it's like, you will do what makes you happy and I will do what makes me happy. And just because I wanted to move away and become a star and start a business and be my own boss and like do all these things does not mean that that's what you want.
Right.
Like, and like I said, I think it's not what you want a lot of the time. Like,
no, yeah. I mean, I like Tampa. I remember at one point I wanted to leave when I was a lot younger, but I really like Tampa and I like my friends.
now
And
you got good friends.
yeah,
Oh my God.
I love my group of friends and like I think if I moved away, I don't see like I don't know what else I would do if I wasn't in real estate. You know what I mean? I tried
Oh,
the
I
yoga
know.
thing and I was really good at that and man, it was a studio manager and teacher for 3 years and
And you
it
still
was,
won't give me a Bikram class.
I know. I don't remember shit. It's been so many years.
Yeah.
But I tried doing that and it was okay and it was cool and I was like, oh, okay, no, yeah, I'm finding my own identity instead of following my mom's footsteps or whatever. But now I'm like, I don't give a fuck if everybody thinks that I'm in the family business. I used to be like super like worried about what other people are going to think. Oh, mommy and daddy just gave you
Nepotism.
the opportunity to do it and you didn't have to work to do shit. Bitch, I worked my fucking ass off
you
being an
do.
office manager. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I'm going to do this
Yeah.
and I'm just
Like
going to
it.
do it. And I like it. I like my job. And I mean, I guess I could go somewhere else and do real estate, but it's a very local knowledge-y type of job.
right.
And I'd be like starting all over.
And I
Fuck
think like
that.
you say you don't know what you would do if you weren't in real estate, but I think like you are so good at management and like you said, like being in control. Like I think you could be in product management for like any kind of business.
Yeah,
You just have the
probably.
skills to be in charge of things.
Yeah.
And I think like, whatever, if you ever did decide to leave, like that's what you would do. But I guess like we've been talking for almost an hour. Can you
Oh
believe
my
it?
God.
Doesn't it go by fast?
It does.
And it's been so good.
It has been really good.
I guess like kind of wrapping up, like I said, I think we're both in such a good place and our relationship is in such a good place. And I feel so happy and excited for both of us that like, I don't know, do you have any fears? Like, I guess
For us?
Well, yeah, for us, for yourself, like, I
No.
guess, like I said, when I think about your sobriety, I think like, well, it's just another try. She's doing it again, but this time feels, I hate to say like this time feels
Yeah,
different because I don't want to
yeah.
add any pressure to it.
No.
But like this time does feel different.
does.
The same way my time a year and
This is
change
something
ago.
that I decided. The first time it was something that was pushed onto me and I didn't want to do. And I did it for a while because it was good for me. But I remember, I wanted to kill myself at that
Yeah.
point. I went to a fucking psych ward because I was so unhappy. I was
Yeah.
sober for a year. I had a great job. I had a great fiance. Like everything was good in my life, but I was fucking so miserable. And I was like, if this is all as good as it gets, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Fuck that. And
Yeah.
like this, but now like me deciding to become where I am today and deciding to take this path myself and doing it on my own, obviously, with support of other people, but it did something different for me and I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
My fear is failure,
Yeah.
in life in general, because
What is failure to you?
not living up to, I think like I just think about other people too much and like expectations. But I think failure, I don't know. I really don't know what failure would be, but it would be like not making you guys, I think, proud.
That's interesting.
You and mom and dad, like I always just want to make y'all proud. Of
I've never not
me.
been proud of you ever. My whole
Aw.
life. Ever. Even during
Wow.
rehab. I've never not been proud of you. Like I get so excited to brag about you and tell people about
Aw.
you and like whenever I'm showing pictures I'm like, and this is my sister and she does
Yeah.
this and like I've never not been proud of you ever.
Oh, well,
Ever.
that's nice.
Yeah, like I don't think that you have to worry about
I just don't want to
Me.
disappoint, I guess. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
disappoint y'all. And I want to be able to not necessarily live up to like what mom ever was, or because I'll never be as good as mom in real estate.
Hey,
or,
that's
like,
you don't know that. Now with that attitude.
well, I'm just okay if I don't. Like, I'm
Yeah.
accepting that if I don't, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, but I think my fear in life is failure. But I have. I mean, they tell you have to be okay with it because it's gonna fail and blah blah blah. But
You have to be okay with it.
yeah. And then for us, I'm not afraid of anything for us. I think the only thing I worry about with you is whoever I end up with is you don't like them. Because if you don't, I swear to God, I cannot ever marry a conservative.
Nope.
I would rather date somebody that I like just a little bit less just to make you happy.
You know what? That actually
if anybody
makes me
knows
very
what
happy.
dating having a boyfriend that their sister hates is the most most
And
fucked up
thank
thing in the
God
world.
I lived on the other side of the country for most of those.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I lived in Tampa and you were dating those guys?
No.
I would sabotage your relationships.
Oh
I
my
have
God,
liked
know.
one guy. Again, shout out to Joe. I have liked one guy your entire fucking life. And
Yep.
this is multiple people. And that's very funny. And that kind of goes back to the Chelsea Handler thing where it's like, I also live a life very involved in politics, whether I like it or not. And knowing that you are not as crazy about it as me is okay.
Right.
Like, I think that's another big thing. And we talked about this with Dad's episode, is me being like, look how a relationship can still exist with very different, well, some political views. And I think that that's like another thing that feels important, is like, you also knowing that that is also a big part of my life is because I live around that and I see it and I know people who are daily affected by it and the choices that are made. Like, I'm more front row to it, I think, and knowing that you're not is okay. Yeah. But you will never be allowed to marry a Republican.
Well, let's get this straight. Ever.
Full stop.
Hard stop.
And I would hope that you would not want to.
Yeah, no, I want a centrist like myself.
Yes, there you go. And I think that exists out there for you. And I think as we get older and like the times evolve, like I think that will happen. But I'm not worried about you finding the right person because, like I said, I will not let it happen if it's bad. Like, if mom and dad die, God forbid, and it's like just us when we're older and you're dating like a shitty guy, I will like fly to wherever you are living and like secretly ruin it.
That's what sisters are for.
Motherfucking exactly. And that's like the whole point of this episode, is that like a sister relationship is ride or motherfucking die. I think no matter what, you can see like just what we've been through, knowing that like we weren't really close at one point. I think we were close when we were young. Then we didn't get close, and then we got closer again, but then we lost it. And now it feels so easy to be around you this time. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you feel that way too. Like, maybe knowing you were stressed about the sweatshirts is funny, but that's really funny to me because I'm so not worried about it. Yeah. I'm so confident in my views and opinions that I'm just like, oh, I dare anyone to come conversate with me. And you know they won't. You know everyone had a conversation before I showed up being like, the fucking liberals are coming. Don't bother them or they're going to leave and ruin Christmas or whatever.
Do not.
Yeah. And again, like those are relatives that we don't have to see often. Yeah. And, you know, we saw for fucking 5 minutes at a time. But I think, again, just going back to the idea that like we are different people and relationships evolve, brains change physically, relationships grow. Yeah. And it took us to be in our fucking 30s to get here. Yeah. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Seems about right, I think.
So I guess last question, Wazilla of my life. If you could tell a confidant out there who maybe has a sibling that struggles with addiction, like, maybe just some general advice for them, because I don't feel like I know how to give that advice. I feel like come from the horse's mouth is better.
I mean, shit. I guess all you can do is really just be there for them. And I think in general, we just need to normalize sobriety. And I think sobriety's trending at the moment. So
I do
you can
think so.
always tell your sibling, hey, sobriety's trending.
Very cool.
But you need to let them live their life because they're going to do what you're going to do. And if you try and fight them, they'll probably push you away even more.
Yeah.
So acceptance is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And even, but that doesn't mean you can't try. You know what I mean? Like if they're at a point where it's like their life is in danger, then obviously that's a different story.
Right.
But if they're living their life and
functioning addicts.
I mean,
high functioning, successful.
You can't save anybody. Honestly, you really can't. They're gonna hit their bottom. Whenever they hit their bottom, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and it's unfortunate. That's why that whole addiction land is so fucked up.
Yeah.
It really is, because I mean, shit, we've tried to save so many of my friends that went back out and they all died. You know what I mean?
So I mean, a lot of loss,
and it's a serious thing. But that's why I'm saying, like, we need to normalize sobriety and normalize, AA if it needs to be that, or normalize just recovery in general.
Yes,
because it's
so important.
And people are, I mean, even me, I was afraid to talk about it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I didn't want people to know I was in recovery because I was afraid if I failed, they would see me and be like, oh, there she goes again. And da, 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 da. But we also need to normalize.
Motherfucking men.
We need to normalize relapse.
Yes.
But not to the point where it's okay to do it over and over. But relapse fucking happens. And that was a thing for me. Like, I was afraid.
It's like 70% or something fucking crazy.
Right.
People relapse.
It happens. And you don't have to be a white chip wonder, which is when you come into AA and you get one white chip.
The fuck is that?
It's when you have 24 hours of sobriety.
Oh, I got one of those, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't white, I don't think.
Silver?
Probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we need to normalize sobriety. We need to
normalize addiction too.
Addiction. And it's a thing, and be okay to talk about it. And I mean, I know that's something that's super private. But you need to know that you're not alone.
Yes, it shouldn't be so private because you can't do it alone. You're not meant to do it alone.
Right.
Like, you're not meant to do life alone.
Exactly.
Which is like kind of the other thing that I'm like, don't lie to me, because you're supposed to have someone that helps you, and not in a way that like I'm holding your hand and carrying you to meetings, but like just to talk to or call or whatever. Like, you really should be able to normalize this conversation and have people on your team.
Exactly.
Build a team, non-judgmental, that is there for you always. And not to make this political, but that's why I loved Biden, because when Trump tried to call him out on having a son who went through addiction and is probably still struggling, fuck you, Trump.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
You piece of
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Someone who's gone through something so hard to be... Can you imagine how they probably tried to cover that up? And then someone had to just be like, this is happened.
Yeah.
We cannot... There's no reason to hide it.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Right.
It is so fucking common.
Yes.
The amount of conversations I've had with people that this is a thing. It shouldn't be a fucking thing, dude.
Yeah. It shouldn't. And I think it's getting better.
It is getting better.
And I think this because like also the resources are starting to become better than what they were a long time ago, but there's still a long way to fucking go.
Yeah. I mean,
really is.
It's like you have AA, inpatient, and like yoga.
Yeah. You got podcasts, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. We need more resources, is a good point. Yeah. Well, this has been... Did you have fun?
I had fun.
I think you did really good.
I did fun.
I was worried
I
because I did fun.
I had fun.
I have funs. We can go shopping.
We go shopping.
I wasn't worried about this at all.
I finally wasn't worried either.
Yeah, because it just feels different.
Yeah, she wanted me to do this a long time ago, and I said, I'm not ready yet. I want to have some more time under my belt.
It didn't feel good the last time either.
Yeah.
The confidantes should know, I have recorded many episodes that have not actually made it because it didn't feel like ready, like talking about certain things.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to come up with. Do you want to tell people where to buy my book, since I know you don't want people to follow you?
Where to buy your book?
Or like, should they buy my book?
They should totally buy your book. It's online somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be in the description. Because I know you don't want people to follow you.
Yeah,
you're
don't
very
follow
private.
me.
Like, this
Please
is the
don't.
most open you've ever been. It's
Every time you
crazy.
tag me in something, I get like 20 new friend requests, and I have to delete all of them and say sorry.
Nothing personal. She just like has a private life.
Yeah, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody in the family that isn't putting their whole life out there.
Yeah, you got me and mom already. It's like you and dad just get to chill.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I think your link to your book is on. You can follow Kelsey at at Kelsey DARRAGH
On everything.
on everything, and her link to her book is probably in her Instagram.
You gotta say bye to the confidantes now.
My confidants. Da 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 da. I'll be back. Da 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 da. Hey.
Love ya.